Welcome to the Mum Mind podcast. I'm Stef McSherry, and today's episode is Anne Hessman, who is the Neurodiversity Parent Coach. Before we get cracking though, I want to say a big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Magpie Gems. This is jewellery, magpiegems.ie. She is based in Castletown Roach in Cork. And I have to say, one of my favourite things, particularly this time of year when you're looking for perhaps confirmation or communion gifts or birthday gifts, I got my daughter one of these. The personalised name necklaces are one of my favourites, particularly because you can get them with fodders. So if your child's name has a fodder in it, then you can get these done here. I don't think anyone else is doing this. You can do it in nickel-free sterling silver, or there are options for 24 karat gold or 18 karat rose gold plating as well. So they're beautiful, delicate laser cut designs for your child's name, really elegant, timeless, and really personal. So check out magpiegems.ie. Now, the neurodiversity parent coach, Anne Hessman, what an emotional conversation. I have to say, if you have a neurodiverse child and ADHD, autism, anything where you are having to advocate for your child on a daily basis, probably, you're going to really enjoy this chat. I did get really emotional. I think just having somebody that validates your feelings as a parent and kind of the grief that can come alongside a diagnosis, as well as the relentlessness of having to speak up for your child or suck up the child's behaviour, you have to be that punching bag sometimes after school, when there's an emotional fallout after soccer or after anything. So I really enjoyed this chat, and I'm sure you will too. Okay, welcome, Anne. So nice to talk to you.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Steph. It's so nice to be here.
I tell you, your Instagram page is one of those pages that I am just so delighted I found, because as a mum of a neurodivergent child, I think to have somebody speaking up for us as parents and allowing us to speak up for ourselves, or giving us permission to speak up for ourselves, I just can't recommend your page highly enough.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Thank you. That's exactly the intention behind it, is a space for parents to feel seen and heard.
Yeah, and I think not only, I honestly don't think just for neurodivergent children, I think for whatever's going on for your child, to be able to go in and say, I know that this is best for my child, to give you that.
You're the expert.
Yeah, absolutely.
On your child. Yeah.
And I think so often, if you have a neurodiverse child, the school system in particular can feel like you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole.
It really, really can. And, I talk about this so much. I talk about this every day. I was about to say I spoke about this yesterday, but I talk about it every day.
Yeah.
But, the school system is a one-size-fits-all approach, really, and historically has always been that. And, as we know now, with, the onset of, so much neurodiversity coming in through our school doors, that approach is changing, but I don't think it's changing fast enough with the sheer volume of neurodiversity that is kind of coming online now.
Yeah, and it's no, it's without shame of the teachers. Like when I go into a classroom and there's 28 kids in that classroom and they're practically on their own, you're there going, I don't know how you do it.
I was a teacher for almost 20 years. I was a primary teacher for almost 20 years.
Okay.
And I finished up my career in special ed. And I had been, in that role for kind of 8 years or so. And, it really turned into, for me, feeling so compassionate for the parents that were coming in for a meeting with their heads down, no idea what to do, no idea what to ask for, no idea what they can and can't ask for, no idea how to communicate their children's needs, maybe a little bit of shame and embarrassment of what's really happening at home in case they be judged. They'd kind of maybe feel fearful of, divulging that in case people would judge them. It's all there. It was all there sitting in front of me all of the time.
Yeah.
And really and truly, like, none of that is the teacher's fault. Like none of
No.
that is the teacher's fault. As you say, teachers are sitting in front of huge classes of 28 and 32 and 35 children.
Yeah.
Um, and they have huge pressure from up above, up further up the chain
Yeah.
of, continuing professional development of, the English language curriculum and the new maths curriculum and all of these things. And so much pressure has been put on them for paperwork and all of that. And in the midst of that, then children who, you know, are quieter, who go under the radar, they just get lost.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course
Mm.
they do. And
Mhm.
I work with preschool age children. I can
Okay.
even tell you when I go into preschools, I'll remember the loud, bubbly ones. I'll remember the ones that are causing whatever kind of issues, but the quiet ones, probably not. I probably won't remember their name for a couple of weeks, and that's
And
awful
that's
to
just human
say.
nature. That's just human nature, you
Yeah.
know. Hmm.
Yep. So, where to begin? I tell you what I also love about your page is you touch on it's even hard to say, gosh, the element of grief that a parent goes through. God, I'm getting emotional. Sorry.
Would you like me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no problem. No problem at all. And again, I talk about this kind of thing every single day. So, we start we start noticing things in our children at a young age, and we start to tell ourselves stories like, oh, maybe they're just different to their sibling, maybe they're the quieter one, or maybe they're just a child that's slower to warm up, like they don't want to talk to strangers, or they don't want to be making eye contact, or maybe they just don't like the playground, or they don't want to be in play centers and soft play, or maybe they just don't like Play-Doh, like touching Play-Doh, maybe that's just not for them. And we tell ourselves all those kind of stories to, you know,
Mm.
I'm not saying we're in denial, but we're certainly soothing ourselves or holding out hope. Okay. And oftentimes, if there's two parents in a family, one parent might be ahead of the other
Yeah.
on a journey. And so then we might make the really brave step, which is to maybe explore this a little bit further. And maybe a preschool teacher or a childminder or a teacher in school might say, we've noticed in the middle of
Mm.
their peers, these are kind of the issues that are the behaviors that are being observed. And so then we take the brave step into the realm of assessment, and we might go down the public route, or we might go privately to try and get it done a little bit faster. And then suddenly it becomes there in black and white,
Yeah.
the diagnosis. He is autistic, she has ADHD, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And there is this massive element of grief. And I feel that up until recently, this element of grief has had to be kind of hidden
Mm.
again for fear, for shame, for embarrassment, because, you know, it doesn't mean grief does not equal I don't love my child or this is
No.
not the child that I wanted. We adore our children. We wouldn't want them to be any other way, only
Yep.
themselves. Okay. But when I know myself, when I became pregnant, I didn't, I expected having a boy, maybe we'd be going to football practice, maybe we'd be doing taekwondo, maybe we'd be,
Yeah.
like big and boisterous and running around the place and all of these kind of things. And that's not what panned out. And so my expectations and our expectations as parents are completely different to our reality. And what is grief, Steph? Grief is the loss of something that we cannot change, something that is gone
Mm.
forever. And what's gone forever is our expectation, our hope, what we always dreamed our parenting journey would
And
be.
it's like you said, you kind of feel embarrassed or ashamed of even feeling that.
Because it comes up at like, but like I don't, I love my child. I don't want to change them in any way. It's
Yeah.
nearly like people, oh, what will people think? They'll think I'm ungrateful.
Mm.
They'll think that I have this beautiful child, and all the people that are longing for babies and families and
Oh, yeah.
all the judgments we have in our own head, and they come from our conditioning.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
come from, be great, be thankful for your lot and be
Yeah.
grateful for what you have. But we've got to be valid. We've got to validate ourselves,
Yeah.
because when we become parents of a neurodivergent child, before we can even think about supporting them and getting to grips with everything that comes with this journey, we've got to look after ourselves. We've got to see, hear, and validate ourselves.
Yeah. And it can be relentless. It can be relentless. There are certain weeks in particular I just find,
Relentless, yeah.
yeah, relentless. And it's that constant reminder from school, because if you are in the school system and gosh, it might not be anything major, but it's the having the energy to absorb it all every day. you know, that's the bit that's relentless, and that's the bit that people don't see. Gosh, I
So
really didn't think I'd be this emotional. I'm so sorry.
hey, I'll keep talking. No
Yeah,
problem. Like,
yeah,
why wouldn't you? But why wouldn't you be emotional?
yeah,
You know, when you think about it, why wouldn't you? You know, because this is very close to the bone for you. But I'll keep talking. There's no
yeah.
problem.
You're doing.
So like just you mentioned school there, and I suppose, I talk a lot about school. And again, I suppose my area of expertise was school because I saw so much of this happening in
Yeah,
real time between parents and teachers and children. And then I see it now with my own son. But little things, like as you say, they're like little subtle things that nobody would even see as a big deal. So, for example, our child comes home from school and they say, I didn't get my movement break today. And they're completely dysregulated and all over the
mm,
place because they had to sit all day or whatever it was. And two things happen. We're so hurt for our child. We feel so sorry for them. We're so sad for them that this was their experience of their school day. Then we have to co-regulate with them, bring them down from the meltdown or bring them down from the dysregulation, comfort them and soothe them. And then we have to turn to, right, how am I going to fight this battle? Have I got it in me to fight this battle? How am I going to word that email to the school? Am I going to ring them? Do I talk to the teacher at the gate in the morning? What do I do?
yeah,
Like, look at all of the skills and look at the drain on your energy there from every angle coming
yeah,
in at you. And somehow we have to still go about our normal life. We have to work, we have to support other children, we have to keep
yeah,
our house going, we have to put dinner on the table, we have to bring children to other activities, whatever it is.
yeah.
We've got to
I know.
validate that part and say, so this is too much. This is too much on a person's nervous
Yeah,
system.
yeah. It's a
You
lot,
know?
and often I found it when he was younger. Um, I'm sure a lot of parents find this, you know, the emotional outburst after school. They might have been immaculate in school, and the school are there going, don't know what you're talking about. He was so quiet, so
Yep.
good. And then when he comes out, or she comes out of school and blah, like just,
Mhm.
you know, like somebody's released the pin and off they go.
And I
Uh,
would have seen that in school, like from the teacher side of things, like, and I would have said that to parents, like, no, he did really well today. He was getting on really well, or she did really well today.
mm,
But I was seeing none of the internal stuff. They were,
I,
yeah, yeah. And you know it in a child when they're despondent and their head is down, they're going, yeah, 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 that's fine. They're just people pleasing and masking.
yeah,
And then you would see them like walk a class out and you would see them and they might throw the school bag at their mother or something in
mm,
pure, like there would be something, or they wouldn't cross the road, or they wouldn't hold her hand, or that, something like that.
yeah,
And like, what was that perceived as 10 years ago, Steph? That was the bold child.
yeah,
Look at the way,
absolutely.
look at what way is that child being parented that child's allowed to throw the bag at their mother? There's
Exactly.
the judgment.
And the judgment is not on the child, but on the parent.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So why do you think we keep all of that stuff on the inside, the what's going on at home, or the meltdowns, or even keeping it a secret? Like, and I know this has happened plenty, keeping it a secret of the diagnosis.
yeah,
You don't want to tell anybody
yeah,
because
and
of the judgment
particularly
on the parent.
the judgment on the parent, or like depending on how that comes out at school, how that behavior comes out or doesn't come out at school, it's the validation. You get a certain validation from a diagnosis, and then it's well, now I've got to tell people, and am I going to be questioned on that? Well, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that, so that's not autism. All of that. There's so much.
And it presents in 55 million different ways.
Yeah.
So like, oh, but my child makes eye contact with people.
Mm.
My child, like he loves to play with other children. My child, like play sports. So I'm thinking of real boy stuff here. Sorry, and I should be spreading it out a bit wider. But do you know what I mean? They're the things that, like, it's the parent holding out the hope. He
Yeah.
makes eye contact. It's fine. That's not autism. Autism is when a child won't make eye contact and they're lining up all the cars on the windowsill and they won't talk to anybody. That's the
Yeah.
classic stereotypical presentation that we would have known ourselves
Yeah.
15 years ago,
And do you find, in your experience, so when when they're at school or preschool, say for 3 hours, or when they start school and it's maybe 4 hours, that some children can hold it together for that long, and that obviously then they have the emotional fallout after school. So then is that even more difficult sometimes for parents to have that conversation with school, because school are saying, no, he's fine. I remember having a conversation with a preschool teacher. She called me in and I thought she was going to say he was screaming and shouting all the time. And she said, no, he's barely talking. And I was there going, what? I couldn't marry the two. Do you know what I mean?
He was just in shutdown. The little
Yeah.
boy was in shutdown in school, just surviving,
Yeah.
survival mode, like everything closed for protection. And then home then, and I can let it out, but I've so much to let out,
But then the
so I
school
have to
don't
spring.
see an issue, right?
I
The
know.
school, they have a child that's conforming as far as they're concerned, a quiet child.
Mm.
So
I
how
know.
do you how
And
do you
yet,
advocate for that child?
yeah, that advocate for that child. I know. So, like, unfortunately, sometimes to be listened to, that bit of paper has to be in our hand. That diagnosis has to be in our hand. For a myriad of reasons, it's a really good idea. Mainly, number one, the child's understanding of themselves. I always say that the child's understanding of themselves is number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, it is that we're entitled officially to certain supports. Okay.
Yes.
So once that paperwork is in place, then there's more of a leg to stand on,
And
as it were.
I'm so glad you've said that because, again, primarily I work with preschool children, and a lot, or not a lot, I hear sometimes maybe the preschool has flagged something, and it takes a lot for a preschool to flag something.
Mhm. For sure.
And then, as a parent myself, as you are, maybe we're in denial for a bit.
Yeah.
But then I hear some parents going down the route of, well, we don't need a diagnosis. That's just going to label him or her,
Mhm.
that we don't need that. So I'm delighted to hear you give some reasons, not only for the practical supports, but for the child themselves, what that can bring for them.
Because, without the label of whatever neurodiverse
Mm.
diversity it is for that child, they're going to get so many other labels. They're going to get the labels, the bold one, the hyper one, the
Yes.
class clown, the disrespectful one, the strange one, the quiet one, the one that never talks to anyone. They're going to get many, many other
Mm.
labels. So let's give them, and I never call it a label, I call it a roadmap to understanding for like literally for the child, the parents, the teacher, to understand school, to understand that child and that
Yeah.
child's needs. And, you know, that's why that bit of paper is really, really, really important. But I do want to say as well, because there probably will be people listening to this podcast that will be like, oh, but we're waiting, we're still waiting for the assessment of need, and the school isn't doing anything to support him.
Mm.
I always say that we like when you begin on this journey and you're like, okay, we've taken the brave step now to, apply for the assessment. Okay. We're applying for that assessment because deep in the depths of our soul, we know that our child is neurodivergent. Okay. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be exploring it really otherwise. All right. There's lots of things we tell ourselves like, oh, we'll just rule it in or rule it out. Or, sure, if it's not there, that's fine. And if it is there, we'll cope with it. All of those kind of
Yeah.
phrases.
Yeah.
But do we need, and I'd be interested to hear your answer to this, do we need a bit of paper, either at home or in school, to start treating the child as neurodivergent or to start looking at the child in front of us and meeting their needs?
No,
Do we need that bit of
of
paper?
course we don't, because
No.
we should be meeting every child and their needs, whatever they are. But unfortunately, with the system that we have, I can see that some schools
Mhm.
are like, well, we're stretched anyway. We need that piece of paper so that we can accommodate.
Exactly. But there's so many accommodations that don't drain school resources. Like,
Yes.
this is the thing. There's so many accommodations that teachers, SNAs, principals can make that don't drain, oh, we're very stretched with learning support hours or whatever it is this year. There's so
Will
many
you give me a
accommodations.
few examples of those?
So, for example, like, first of all, safety. And I
Mm.
mean by safety, I mean that what's happening within that neurodivergent child is more often than not, they just don't feel safe within themselves going into an environment that's away from their safe place, that's fast paced, high demand, line up, sit down, take out your lunch, take out your book, that creates anxiety within them because they don't know what's coming next. It's unpredictable. It's too much.
Yeah.
Okay. So safety and trust they need a predictable, safe person that they can trust, that they know that's going to be, they're going to come for them at that time to the school, to the classroom door, that they're going to be there to greet them in the morning, that they're their person if they're feeling a little bit anxious, that they can go to them. Those things don't drain school resources.
No.
What they do is they almost demand of the teachers and SNAs to to start to tune into that child a little bit more, to really focus on the compassion side of things, to focus on like put away the academics for now and let's just focus on you feeling safe in school. I'll
Mm.
give an example, all right? This is a personal example, but I think like I documented it on Instagram, so it's no secret. So like in term one of this school year, my son was having a very hard time going into school, okay? You know, complete and utter fight or flight, running away from the school door, out the road, all this kind of stuff. And eventually, eventually after this happening a few times, people started to sit up and listen because behaviors were being seen that I was already saying that were going on at home, but they were being seen now. So um, he started to have a consistent person greet him at the door in the morning. Okay, so now his entry into school becomes completely predictable. He
Yep.
started going in a few minutes after the crowd, so it's much quieter, it's much slower. He doesn't go to the classroom straight away. He goes to the sensory room. He has some time there to regulate, and then in his own time, when he's ready, he moves to the classroom.
Yeah.
And he's in the mainstream classroom. Okay. For a while all of this was kind of settling, he did all of his work or spent most of his day in the sensory tent in the classroom. What was he looking for there, Steph? He was looking for safety.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. So something like a little space in a classroom, like a sensory tent, like a little area, like a beanbag, somewhere they feel so safe away from the crowds. And then when he was ready to come out, he'll come out because this is the thing. We're giving the child autonomy over themselves, creating safety, creating trust. The teacher is saying again and again, if you don't, if you're not feeling like yourself or you're feeling a bit worried, you can go to the tent.
Yeah.
Same thing is happening every day. And so he knows what supports are in place. And so school starts to feel safer. Now,
Yes.
there was very little drain on school resources there. Just the SNA who comes to the door anyway to greet lots of other children in the morning, what was there anyway. So she was just mindful of him and very deliberate in how she spoke to him and, just very mindful of him. So tuned into him. So that's
It
number
must
one.
be very difficult because we're very lucky as well. And my son went into that school without a diagnosis. We were just starting the process of. And I remember the principal saying, you just tell us what you need. You tell us, and that's,
Wow.
yeah. And it must be incredibly difficult if you're not met with that, which I'm sure you come across many, many parents that are
I
not
come
met with
across
that.
many, many parents like, and it's soul destroying. It is
Yeah.
absolutely soul destroying. Like a lot of my reels on Instagram are based on clients I meet
Yeah.
and parents I meet all of the time. And it's like, it's just so wrong.
Yeah.
This, even having to ask to go to the toilet and then being told no, that you have to wait 15 minutes. Sure, an autistic child is never going to ask ever again.
Well, then
Never.
that's I know I'm talking about my son
It,
a lot, and that wasn't the
rejection
intention,
sensitivity.
but that happened to him a lot in his younger days. That when and I know it myself, especially with preschool or junior infants. There's like an epidemic of toilet going. Once one goes, they all want to go.
Absolutely. It's like a train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
when the teacher was saying, right, that's it, no more, nobody else is going to the toilet, he just took that as I am not allowed to go to the toilet for the rest of the day.
Black and white, rigid thinking.
Yeah, and then
Absolutely.
started having accidents at like the age of 5, and it was just like, whoa, what's going on here?
Where's this coming from? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We would have had a similar incident when my son was younger as well. So I completely hear you. And also, it's very important to note that like neurodivergent children are highly sensitive, as you and I
Mm,
know, and they experience rejection on a very deep level. So if
yeah,
they're told no once, shut down.
yeah.
They'll never ask for it again.
And that's going to lead me on to my next point, which not only for parents have you touched on it, but I think for them too, we feel it, is loneliness. We feel it
Oh,
as a parent and we feel it for them. Like a number of times my son has said, why don't I have any friends? Or why don't I get to go on a sleepover? Or why don't I get invited to that party? Oh my God, the heartbreak. But for you as a parent too.
so yeah, for sure. Loneliness is like again, like your son is vocalizing that, which is the experience of many neurodivergent children, because they're like you mentioned the square peg in the round hole, they're experiencing the world in a different place
Yeah.
and they process information differently and they can't react to things the same way as other children do.
Mm,
So it all comes across as different, as other, sometimes strange, sometimes, I don't understand what he's saying to me. She doesn't answer me when I talk to her. And kids are so fast paced, they don't wait around for
no.
an autistic child to process it. and
Yeah.
then answer them back. So it's a very lonely place. And then we've got so the parents are like heartbreaking for a parent.
Mm,
And then you've got like the whole experience of parents at the school gate. Like many parents drop off their child. Bye now. Oh, isn't it lovely to see them so happy going into school? Somebody said that to me once. My God, I just love that my children are so happy going into school. And I was like,
great.
okay, thanks
Good for
so
you.
much. I'm so happy for you. But I don't like I don't
No,
think
I
she
know
knew my
what you mean.
situation at the time, but
No.
still, but like, you know, like I go back and I sit in my car and cry,
Yeah.
or tons of us go back and sit in their cars and cry because we've had to like, coax and bribe and really co-regulate and
Mm.
big them up as much as we can. And when we get them as far as the school door, we've done a day's work already.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you got the few hours in between to steel yourself ready for the fallout after school.
Exactly. But
It's just,
I know we're saying that in jest. But my God, is that so
yeah.
important? Is that so important?
Yeah.
Because I feel like the pace of life is so fast for parents, for adults, and
Mm.
people of our generation. Like there's so many people that don't have the luxury, like I have, of working from home. If my son can't go into school for a day, I'm here with him. There's so many people who don't have the luxury of that, and they drop their kids, go to work, come home, pick up their kids, and that, like,
The
they're in that
hamster
loop.
wheel. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So I've so many parents that come and talk to me about that, and they're saying, "What do I do? What do I do if I can't sit in the car for 20 minutes with my child?"
Yeah.
So like again, all those feelings that come in are sense of failure, not good enough, embarrassment, guilt, shame. Like we're fighting, we're at odds with ourselves the whole time. That inner critic is flying
Yeah.
it the whole time.
You
So it's
told
really
him.
important that parents have some space to feel seen and heard,
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Which
others
is
to
you.
get it.
Which is you.
Well, I like that's what I aim to do. And
Well,
there's
and
plenty of others doing such amazing work for parents out there. But I really feel like it's such a specific thing. It's not just parenting,
mm,
it's not just parenting. It's such a different parenting journey.
of course it is.
Mhm.
You told an amazing story on your Instagram page. It was about, I think it was your son getting shoes on in the morning before school and how it could have played out versus how it played out. Would you just tell that if you remember it again? Because I
It was
just think
actually
it's
my
a really,
daughter. It was actually
oh,
my
sorry, go
daughter.
on. Okay.
Well, but and it was actually like totally true story. I was like, I have got to tell people about this. But I suppose I was quite proud of myself, because
Yeah.
there's plenty of times it goes the other way, Steph. I won't lie. But what do you call it? Like I suppose it was co-regulation at its finest, So like it was Monday morning, was that, I don't know if you know that those 5 minutes before you leave the house in the morning, our 5 minutes is always like you have to get the dog in the car, and everything is happening all at once,
Yeah.
and everybody's asking something of me. And my daughter was just really dysregulated, and so that comes out as kind of, that comes out as I'm so mad at you, in anger,
Mm.
and I could have like responded to that in anger as well. That's disrespectful. That's bold. You're getting your iPad taken away from you, whatever it was. But I knew in that moment that like, she just needed me. She needed me to be her mom. She needed me to be the mom maybe lots of us didn't have,
Yeah.
and she needed compassion in that moment. Um, and I remember just like, I could see like, I just looked at her and I could really see like there was like pain on her face, even though it was anger, it was pure pain. And I just sat beside her on the stairs and I was like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, I've got you. Like, there's nothing we can't figure out together. I've got you, you know? And just like, like it might have been a 30-second hug and just like a hand on her back and just rubbing her head and just a hug. And it all just, everything turned because
Yeah.
I didn't go up to where she was. I stayed down here. I just took that split second to decide I'm staying down here. And then I brought her back down with me.
And that, in that moment, and especially when any child is throwing abuse at you, it's so hard
Triggering
not
that.
to go there with them, especially if you were parented in that way. How dare you speak to me like
Be
that? It
like that.
just, you
Yeah.
can't help it. It just
Yeah.
starts to,
Yeah.
so to be able to take that breath and that second,
That's all it is a second, just a second. And to see that they are really struggling right now. Like I would hear the phrase a lot out there, they're giving me an awful hard time. They're giving us an awful hard time. Okay. And I know that. There's no question of it's very hard on the parents. My God, it's so hard on the child. It is. They're having feelings that are just too big for their body,
yeah,
feelings they don't understand. and it's all coming out. They don't have the emotional intelligence or the brain
No.
development to process any of that yet. And it just all comes out as shouting, as roaring, as screaming, as meltdowns.
Yes.
And they're not, none of it is intentional. They're not trying to hurt us.
No, they're not choosing that.
They're not choosing that at all. So, like, it's like, as I say, there's plenty of times that I am triggered by it. But when I pick those, when I pause for that second, I can I can just bring everything back down again. And the more you do it, the more confident you get in doing it. And
Yeah.
you're also rewiring your own pathways, your own neural pathways to, this works better. I know the benefits of this when I react like this, rather
And
than when I go up there with them and
and it
shout.
comes back to something you touched on earlier of filling your own cup as a parent to be able to do that. My God, like if you're wrecked, exhausted, undernourished, whatever, and you're in fight or flight, there's not hope you're going to do it.
Do you know what? Like, filling our own cup can be something so, it doesn't have to be, you know, like I need a weekend away in a spa. Do you know that kind of way? It doesn't
Which would be
mean,
lovely, by the way.
oh, by the way, I'd be the first in line, so I would, no problem at all. But it can be something as simple as I'm going to get up a little bit earlier and just have that coffee in peace. I'm going to make time to listen to my voice notes. I'm going to make time to listen to a podcast. I'm going to listen to a song that cheers me up. When I'm driving in my car, I'm going to, like, a lot of parents say to me, like, it's so hard to switch off between work and home. And then I get in home and I haven't even processed work. And then everyone demands something off me. Like, I remember when I was working, I used to, like, when I passed a certain point on the road, it was actually a certain shop, a certain filling station. And when I used to pass that filling station on the way home, I would be like, no, work is back there now. Now I'm tuned into home. It's literally saying that to yourself and intentionally making that boundary there that you can bounce back. You'd have enough to bounce back. So for the rest of my journey, I was preparing myself for home.
And
You know,
sometimes,
doing
like,
something for me.
especially if you are driving to and from places, I was often filling my time with, oh, I should listen to that podcast now, and I'd listen to it. But actually, sometimes just switching off the radio, off
Silence,
the podcast, and just going,
absolute silence. Yeah. You think of how our children need brain breaks in school, a quiet space, a place to go to the sensory room, a tent, a break from the hustle and bustle of the classroom. Why on earth wouldn't we need the same? A brain break.
yeah,
We need a brain break every now and again. And it's giving ourselves permission to do that because the brain will always find something to do. We're raised that productivity, our conditioning is productivity equals success. Productivity equals you're doing a good job.
yeah,
Rest, slow pace equals selfish, not doing enough, not good enough. That's the
lazy,
conditioning
yeah,
of children of the 80s and 90s.
yeah. Keep
Yes.
going, keep going, keep going.
Keep going, keep pushing through. And all that happens is pushing through is cortisol and eventually burnout.
Yeah.
And it's not that we can't afford to burn out. I can't say that, but like, no, none of us want to burn out.
No, you
And
don't want to
so
get to that point.
we don't want to get to that point. And so if we are, I suppose, putting ourselves in spaces where we're among people who get it, that's such an act of self-care. That's such an act of filling up your own cup, you
Yeah,
know?
you run a parent community, right?
I do, yeah. So I
Tell
have,
me.
we call it the monthly meetup. So we meet.
I feel I will be joining.
Oh my God, I'd love to have you. So what it is we meet on Zoom one Tuesday night every month for about 90 minutes and we just talk to each other. We share. Now, sometimes I would talk about a certain topic, like I would do a few slides on a certain topic. Especially if something was coming up or people were asking me a lot of things. But most of the time parents just share stories that are coming up for themselves. Maybe it's something got to do with assessment, maybe it's something to do with domiciliary care allowance in the application, maybe it's got something to do with a specific issue in school. Teenage years are a totally different ball game. There's lots of teenage stories, but what happens every time in the group, Steph, is that somebody else comes in and goes, yeah, we were there 2 years ago and here's what helped us. Or, oh my God, everyone just rolls in and helps each other. It is
Community.
like
Brilliant.
everybody leaves it, including myself, so empowered and so what do you say, resourced and
Yeah.
reserves filled up again. So it's growing and it's doing really well. But I'm moving now to, we'll have our monthly meetup as well. And then I have some guest speakers coming in that in the area of like play therapy, psychology. I also have like a breathwork facilitator coming in, things like that, like things
Lovely.
to nourish us, the parents.
Yeah, I love it. We're running out of time, but I just wanted you
All
to
right.
tell one story, again, on your Instagram. And when I saw it, I smiled so much because I thought, gosh, I love those moments. And it was about you feeling proud of your son. And when you tell this story, other parents might not get it, but
Okay.
I certainly got it. It was about him rolling his tracksuit bottoms up.
Yes. So it's actually in the Hill of Tara because we live quite close to the Hill of Tara, and there's always very long grass in the Hill of Tara, and he finds it all very sensory
Yeah,
overload, and then his trousers and everything was bugging him, and we've had to like there's been so many times we've gone for walks there where we've just had to go, no, sorry, we have to leave, and like he's just not able to
yeah.
handle it, and it was just that day he problem solved himself and rolled up his own trousers, and he was like, no, I'm good, I can do it this way. I can do it this way. And it was just like
And
when
those
you're
moments are
at that
brilliant.
stage where it's like, no, I know what to do now. No, I can handle this. My son is very like that. I can handle it or I can't handle it. That
Yeah.
sort of way, very black and white. And he was just like that day. He was like, no, I can handle it. I can roll this up. And we were just like, my husband
Yay,
and I
you're
were
there
like,
going,
oh my God, and we got a
yay.
full walk. And, everybody was so delighted. And even like his brother and sister were like, oh, well done, you did it. And we were so proud of him. So,
Oh,
so as you say, like there's so many times it's like, I can't. And that leads to such dysregulation and meltdown. And then when they do it, and they will do it,
yeah.
they will. And I always say to my children, I hold the belief for you until you're ready to hold that belief for yourself. And
Oh
I
God,
hold
you're
it.
going to set me off again.
But I
It's so
believe that so
lovely.
strongly that like we have to hold the belief for our children. We've got to listen to them, hear them, see them, believe them every time they tell us, like, that's scratchy, I don't like that, rather than saying, no, you're grand, sure, it's fine, that's lovely, that's a new jumper. We've got to say, okay, I hear you. How can I make that easier for you? Do you want to cut the tag? Do you want to change top? What do you need right now? We've got to hear them and see them. And through that, their resilience builds and their safety and trust is there, and they will figure it out themselves then.
Yeah, they'll get there in the end. Like
And
that,
you
just
know
to have that
yourself,
faith.
isn't it the Maori word for autism is in their own time and space?
Yes, which
We've
is
got
just
we've got to
beautiful.
believe that, you
What a
know.
lovely place to finish. Thank you so much, Anne. Your Instagram page is Epiphany Coaching.
Epiphany
And I,
Coaching, and you'll find I have a website, epiphanycoaching.ie, and you'll find a lot of my webinars there available to download if you wanted to. There's one on co-regulation there that would tie in nicely what we were talking about. But mostly you'll find me on Instagram.
brilliant. Thanks for talking to me today.
Thank you so much for having me.